this time. Crazy. I thought we were live before. We all did our intros, and I'm sorry that nobody on the rest of the world was. It's all my fault. Is it an awkward sibling show without technical difficulties? I think not.
Woohoo!
So again, hi, I'm Glory. You're on my channel. I write the blues. I hope that you like our stuff. Please let us know. And if you do, please consider subscribing and hitting that like button. Because when you click on the like button, people who have similar viewing habits to you are more likely to see your recommendations. And then joining me today is Tom.
Hey, you pointed in the right direction. Good job.
I'm working. I'm trying.
Bravo.
How many weeks? And also with us is Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. My name's Stephanie. I write adult fiction with chaos thrown in, and I like Disney movies too.
Stephanie has a new book baby out. Tears of Yesterday.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Glory. I always feel so odd mentioning on other people's channels.
Yeah,
yes.
I think you should mention it every single time. Mostly because having a book baby is not that dissimilar to having a real human baby or even a fur baby, in that, you have to nurture this thing till, it can walk and it can go exist on its own. So, it's definitely something to be proud of, I think, anyway. And I hope everyone here is also proud of Stephanie for making a book baby. And I hope soon I will have a book baby too. So,
and she's even got a second one in this series she's working on going. That's not easy.
So no, the first book, it was published on October 26th. It's going well. People are buying it. People that I don't even know are buying and wanting to read the book. And a few people that have read the book that aren't aware of where I got inspiration for it from. They're like, hey, I want to know when's the next book coming out? I want to know what happens next. So that's a pleasing review, I think.
Yes.
I think so too. When they want another one, that really says good things about that this is a book that can stand on its own.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what all writers also hope for. That's what I hope for with my books, is that people who don't know me from Eve are like, hey, when are more books coming out? I want to read more of what you write. That's like, to me, the ultimate compliment.
Yes, it's way different than if like someone you're friends with or someone that you know personally, you're like, oh yeah, that book is really great. I want to read more. But if it's someone that doesn't know you personally, that's kind of like a thanks for that, Glory, sharing that. But when it's people that you don't know personally, their comments kind of mean a little bit more than friends, if that makes sense.
Because then really they're judging the book on the book's merits alone, rather than also on like my relationship to the person who wrote it.
Right. Yeah.
In photography, we call it the difference between, a snapshot and a photo. Or, and when we say photo, we mean, something you can publish.
Professional image.
Yeah.
Because a snapshot requires context.
You have to have been there. You have to know what was going on for it to bring up a memory that makes it useful and interesting. But versus, a real professional image, you don't have to have been there. It's just an interesting image you want to look at.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. You're fine. I forgot what I was going to say.
Number one, Tom, you're crackling. And I know that you need to know that because of what you're using for your audio. And two, I thought we would go ahead and say hi in the chat. So Maggie's here. Hey, sweetie. How are you holding up? Health-wise, everything. I hope you're okay. And
I'm like that goat.
Yes, how are the baby goats? Are there updates? If you're up for it, let us know. And then CB's here. Hey, sweetie, how is it going? I think if I recall correctly, CB is just crushing it in her nano project, and that is awesome. As well as, in general. She's just totally winning at existence.
Yes. Hasn't CD already hit her number?
I want to say yes, but I'm not 100% certain. And also, I don't want to take away from any option she has to I'm totally at this number. And it's yeah, put it in the chat so we could post it up on the screen. Yeah. CB says, made gluten-free bread earlier. It tastes great, but I realized because it has buttermilk in it, I'm going to have to put it in the fridge. Well, overnight it would be fine, but if you leave your bread out all the time, it may need it after a few days. I don't know how UK buttermilk is. In America, American buttermilk is actually a yogurt product. It's a fermented dairy product. But if it's real buttermilk, it's not. It doesn't have probiotics in it necessarily. And so, again, it would probably be okay in the short term, but the long term, yeah, you'd need to refrigerate it. Again, I just want to point out again how proud we are of Stephanie's book baby. Just want everyone to know. The link is here. If anybody watches later and they would like to find out more about real authors who write real books.
A real book, huh?
Well, I come from the library world where there's a lot of what is the term for
vanity press books?
Actually, that wasn't what I was thinking of. I was thinking of those fairies books. Those all these fairies, and it's something Meadows or Meadows something, that author name, but that's not a real person. It's an umbrella name of 20, 30 authors now, because there's 80 books in this series, an anthology series.
Now?
Oh, there's so much more.
Oh, I thought you were talking about, because I know there's this book series that my daughter likes to read called the Warriors book series, which all the characters are cats, and it's actually a collection of 4 different people writing under one name.
No. We're talking about, originally they were called by the color of the book. So, there was the pink fairy book, the blue fairy book, the red fairy book, orange fairy book. And now it's just continued on. I didn't realize at 80, I don't know what
there's a concert fairy book, okay? When I worked at the library, there was a concert fairy book. There was a grass fairy, I think. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It was very much of I'm so glad that we have entirely given up on monotheism. But anyway.
Let go of the cats.
So
monochromism.
Only the one color for all. So anyway, and that's all real authors versus what they do is they just get all these ghostwriters to just churn out this stuff. And sometimes they plagiarize from their own series. And it is problematic. So
wait, so an author will plagiarize from their own series?
So these fairy books, they were, and this was pointed out to me by a young reader. So an elementary school child came and had brought both books that they had checked out from the library and showed page by page. They had barely changed the names of characters, the names of locations, but otherwise the stories were literally identical page to page. They had entirely plagiarized their own book.
Well, what would be the point of doing that?
This is a pseudonym. This is a fake name, and a lot of authors are hired under. I want to say Scholastic Books is the one that publishes this.
And
it's just
doing like this kind of thing.
But anyway,
Like this.
Maggie says, we all have the virus, which shall not be named. I am so sick, so I am not responsible for anything that I blabber. Goats are happy because it's warm. Very nice. I'm glad the goats are happy. And Maggie says CB has hit her number this weekend. That is fantastic. Yes. Right, she did.
Yes. She got 50,000?
Yes.
Already?
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
CB, what? Do you just sit there for hours every day and type?
She is a story machine. Yeah. I think it's wonderful. I'm so proud of her. I'm so glad I've gotten to know her all these months now on YouTube. 2020 Sure, it's a rolling trash fire, but it does have a surprisingly lovely silver lining, at least for me, on YouTube.
Yeah, there's all these people that are like
Right,
you can
Stephanie,
meet and
I don't
everything
know
else.
how I would have met you otherwise, and like my life is better for having known you. It's wonderful. So Stevie says that's what happened with the Babysitters Club books. Yes, like they were originally written by one woman, and then at a certain point, I guess she got tired, and I don't know if she was like on board with this or if the contract did not give her rights to determine who was writing under her name. But yeah, it got.
Well,
Yes,
like if someone's like a really popular writer, and then I don't know if this happened with Anna and Martin, who originally wrote the Babysitter books, but I know like if you're a really popular writer and whatnot, and then you die, like the publication house can buy the rights to your name, and then they'll hire a ghostwriter to continue writing your books under your name, but it's someone else.
right.
They did that with the author V.C. Andrews, who wrote Flowers in the Attic series.
Yes, because that's how I found out about V.E. Schwab. And now she finally is able to write under her own name, and that's wonderful. Maggie
Whose
said,
name was she writing under?
Huh?
Whose name was V.E. Schwab writing under?
She was writing under V.C. Andrews.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Yep. I even looked it up to make sure I was remembering right. Like, because I now follow V.E. Schwab on Instagram because Kate Kavanaugh had recommended her account, V.E. Schwab's account. Just if you like bullet journals and organizing and you're a writer, you may like because V.E. Schwab has these cool ideas for essentially organizing your writer life, and I like that.
Yeah, I actually follow her on Instagram because Kate Kavanaugh said we follow her on Instagram.
Right. That's
yeah. So I see this comment here about like the characters' names changed and stuff. There's this like a cover on one of the books that my daughter has because she has quite a few, and she's like, this doesn't make sense because in this giant book of all the pet cats, it says that she has green eyes, but in the book on this other cover she has blue eyes, and it doesn't make sense. This is wrong. I'm like, okay, I don't know, it's a book. But then I was reading up on the website, the Warrior Cat website, that she's like, it's hard to keep track of 63 different cats and their storylines, and sometimes I get the colors wrong. Sorry. But I mean, like, if they have like 4 or 5 different people writing, that makes sense. I mean,
look, okay, I'm gonna just say it. Considering how much money they're making off of it, you think they could bother to actually keep track. But anyway.
So, that does bring up two cases real quick of other authors. One, Terry Pratchett, who famously, I believe it was like his postal man, his postal guy, I think was a fan of his, and actually was the one who organized all the characters in the story, all this in Discworld to help him keep it straight. And if not for him, yeah, there would be a lot of confusion going around. And he helped Terry Pratchett keep it straight. And the other one is, there's definitely though a difference between plagiarizing your own work, and now thanks to ebooks and a few other copyright law changes, there is like updated stories, like Diane Duane took her Young Wizard series and has updated it to what's now called the Millennium Edition, because her stories were written so long ago that it was hard for younger kids to really get into it, because they were wondering like, where are these elements missing, and so she updated the stories.
Yeah, they include like smartphones and stuff.
Yeah, so that it would be more relevant to the current generation, because what's it been, 40 years since she wrote the first books? So, she's been updating them, but that's different than this pretending it's a different story by publishing it in a different book with, different character names, but the entire story arc is the same.
I just wanted to quickly say, hi, Sid! It's amazing to see you. How's work? Confusion. I mean, yeah, we are there. CB says she's going to make gluten-free French toast for lunch tomorrow. Sounds yummy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did the updating the series with the BSC books. What are the BSC books?
Babysitter's Club.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know me.
I was a fan when I was little.
Me too. I think Babysitter's Club was the first series I got into, and once I learned to read, That was the first series, and then the second series was Sweet Valley High.
Oh.
Yes, I love Sweet Valley High.
And I just tore through those. And yeah. And then I kind of at a certain point dropped off number one because Sweet Valley High, they're all rich kids. I just could not relate. But also, like, I really got into reading about ghosts, Victorian time period / pioneer life because of the Laura Ingalls Wilder series, House of the Prairie, and also Holocaust. So and Victorian medicine diseases. And that was like this crazy big roll around of like that kept me going for like a solid 8 years. Honestly, it was just reading between Victorian diseases, pioneer life, and the Holocaust, and ghosts. Just throw in ghosts every once in a while. Oh, is it a time traveling doll that keeps taking you back to pioneer life out in Manitoba? Yes. Where do I sign up? I would like this doll. It's a real book, by the way. It's a real book. I looked it up. It's still real. It still exists in this universe. So, anyhow. Let's see. CB says I read all the Babysitter's Club books and the Sweet Valley Kids books, but then I discovered the Chalet School books. I have never heard of Chalet School books. Sorry. I mean, I assume it sounds fun. Is it a boarding school thing? And then Maggie says, dating myself, read Nancy Drew, and then Anne McCaffrey and Madeline L'Engle. Yes, the first book I read completely on my own once I learned to read when I was 9 was A Wrinkle in Time. There's this whole backstory to this book, by the way, with me and how it was like
from another dimension.
Yeah, a different dimension, different universe, where the book, the copyright date, and I only know this because I actually had to do a book report on it, which was the only reason I was reading this book. It was the very last book in the award-winning section at my school library, and I procrastinated. But the book said A Wrinkle in Time, Madeline L'Engle, and then it said 1961, which is not the copyright date official.
On the other hand, to your credit, we did talk to someone who worked at that school
at that library.
Didn't know the book. She remembered.
And had seen it. She's like, no, that's real. And also, it had 398 pages, or 396. And I know this, number one, because I had to list this in my book report. And number two, I was so proud of myself for having read almost 400 pages in, the course of 2 weeks. And I mean, I was proud. I was so proud of myself. So, yes, everything online swears that I don't know what I'm talking about and maybe a different dimension. But I did run into somebody who was approximately my age, who was the librarian there at much before I met her. And she had discarded this book because it was falling apart. And she said that she remembered it and she thought, this has got to be a misprint. I don't know. Mysteries abound. So anyhow, but yes, I've also read a side story of Anne McCaffrey's, the Songsters sub-series. Yeah. I didn't really get into the main Dragon Riders of Pern because...
Crystal Singers.
The Crystal Singers. I just could not relate. Nancy Drew, though, and the Hardy Boys, I mostly just wanted to slap all of them around. I mean, that's just me. But, yeah.
Is that because it reminded you of me so much? Because I remember relating to Hardy Boys' adventures of, I did that kind of dumb stuff.
It was mostly their dumb stuff. It was mostly Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys' dumb stuffs. I just don't go to caves without a torch or out a flashlight, something. Why would you go into a cave at sunset without some form of light? I mean, there are warnings about it. In fact, if I recall, there was a story when Nancy Drew does this. I want to say it was Nancy Drew. And there's literally a sign outside the cave, and they ignore it.
Yes,
and I'm just smack. Anyway, but that's because I'm the oldest, and my job is to be responsible for a lot of errant people who obviously don't make good decisions. So I could relate in that way. Anyway, CB says yes, it's a boarding school thing. And then she got into Little Women. Yes. Oh yeah, Little Women was definitely part. Little Women has the distinction of being the first book that ever made me cry. Spoiler alert: when Beth dies. and she's like saying her goodbyes, and I'm like, oh my god, how brave she must be to know she is dying, and not being a total bee. How dare you? I mean, I'm like, if I know I'm dying, I should be able to eat all desserts all day long till I die.
I feel like Little Women is one of the few stories that can keep up with Hamlet for how often they turn it into a movie.
Yes.
Like, what is it now? Like, every 3 to 5 years, there's another Little Women in Hamlet? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely. Heather has come in. Hey, Heather, how are you? How is Little League going? So, we have approximately 9 minutes left before we do the first timer. Disney Dark Ages. Has anybody watched any Disney Dark Age era movies since last week? If you have, let us know. Stephanie, have you had a chance to watch any?
Does Fox and the Hound count?
Yes, that is
Yes.
part of the Disney Dark Ages.
Yes, and I watched it on Saturday.
Cool. Tom and I have binged this, and frankly, we've complained a lot while watching.
Yes. Yes, there was not enough alcohol for watching these movies. Oh. Was not ready for this trauma.
Like, I liked some of them. Like, obviously, I like Robin Hood. I've watched it on my own many times.
And the Rescuers.
And the Rescuers.
Oh yeah, that was the other day too. Rescuers.
Yeah. Rescuers was okay.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but it's okay. I really liked those alligators.
Yeah.
Like, you can see like how later they take the whole alligators and like they do Flotsam and Jetsam for Little Mermaid, and it's like, yeah, I'm okay with this. This is like, I do like this sort of duo thing. But yeah, has anybody else watched? Let's see. Stevie wants to let us know, like, Little Women 1994 was the worst. I mean,
I've not actually seen any of the Little Women movies.
They are all, have their downsides in their own unique ways.
Yeah.
They're also, like, most of them are kind of fun to watch. Like, they're sort of popcorny in that do not judge the movie by the book at all.
Oh.
Because it's more like inspired by a book rather than based on a book. But, because as a kid, I grew up, Mom got me the one with Elizabeth Taylor in it, which is 33, 32, something like that. And then the one in the end of the 30s, I think that, because both the one with Elizabeth Taylor has Katharine Hepburn, a very young Katharine Hepburn, and then the one in the late 30s also has Katharine Hepburn or something. And I like all of them, but for different reasons, and I never really expect them to be that much like the book, because I think every time they do a remake, they're trying to make it relatable to modern audiences, and that can be a challenge, because unlike a lot of other historical novels, this was actually written and takes place approximately in the time period it was published. So it is definitely a product of its time. And so it can be difficult to relate to, like, there's so much to unwrap about Louisa May Alcott's life and personal, yeah. So Maggie does say Watership Down and Where the Red Fern Grows were the first books that made her cry. Yes.
I don't know. I think something's broken in me, because I will read, like, I've read Where the Red Fern Grows. Didn't make me cry. But when I watched the movie, it made me cry. For some reason, books have not made me cry. But when I watch the movie adaptations, I'm a total mess. I don't know why.
I don't know. I mean, everybody's kind of wired their own way. It's, a lot of stuff makes me cry. I still cried during Fox and the Hound. I did. Even though I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was coming. And I knew that there was parts of the story that were driving me nuts. And I was still like, yeah.
Yeah, I turned around. I was going to make a wry comment. And then I see her wiping tears, like, now's not the time.
It was okay. You could have anyway. I mean, the tear. CB says the Little Women last year was awesome. I have not watched that. I will have to check it out at some point. Maggie says I haven't watched anything, but you listen to the Aristocats soundtrack. It is fun.
Yeah, the soundtrack is fun.
Yes, CB agrees. Aristocats is fun. 1994 one has Susan Sarandon, Claire Danes, Winona Ryder, and Kirsten Dunst and Christian Bale in it. It is wild. Heather says saw the Little Women from the 30s, Katharine Hepburn, and 1949. Looked up. Thank you. Yeah, there's like a whole bunch of versions of Little Women. Scales and from yes, it's a great song. It's very singable.
It's Baroque.
Yes. So, let's see, because Tom and I did not get to watch as much together this week as we would have liked. But there were so many movies to watch that we just started kind of watching them on our own. I know that I did not get through The Love Bug. I got almost. I mean, okay. I watched Robin Hood,
Hey,
The Rescuers.
How about I just go through that list we have for this, and
Okay.
we both watched Jungle Book.
Yes.
We both watched part of the beginning of The Love Bug. I think I also fell asleep.
I made it through an hour of The Love Bug. Okay.
That was longer than I did. I only made 20 minutes.
Here's my
I watched almost all of The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
I did not watch it like in this century. I have not watched it in this century.
The Aristocats, watched it. Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Oh yeah, I watched that.
Robin Hood.
Yep.
Escape to Witch Mountain.
Not in this decade. I have not watched it
same.
in this decade.
The Apple Dumpling Gang.
Yes, I did make it through that.
I did not. The Freaky Friday.
I have not watched it in this decade.
Same. Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
No, I didn't.
I watched it. I still enjoy it. The Rescuers, we both watched. Pete's Dragon. I did not watch it this week, but I did watch it in the past year.
Yeah, I've watched it in the past year, but I didn't watch it this week.
The Black Hole.
I watched it about a month ago.
Yeah.
I fell asleep twice trying to watch it.
So slow.
Oh my god, it's just so relaxing when they do the ship noises, and the editing is so. Okay, wait, I won't get into analysis, but yes, it's like seriously, if you need to sleep though. Black Hole.
The Devil and Max Devlin.
I just watched that yesterday.
Dragon Slayer, I don't think either of us really got to.
No, and there is some debate about whether it's a proper Disney movie or if there was more going on.
Yeah.
We will solve it for part 2 anyway.
Fox and the Hound, we both watched. Tron, we both watched. Something Wicked This Way Comes, we both watched most of it.
The beginning of it.
Return to Oz, we didn't watch this week, but
I've watched in the last 3 months several times.
Yeah, I've watched it in the last year. The Black Cauldron.
Yeah, I've watched it this month.
Yeah, same. The Great Mouse Detective, watched it this week.
Watched it overnight as well.
Flight of the Navigator, I did not actually get to this week, but I have
did not get it to this week, but I've watched it in the past year, I believe.
Yeah, same. And Oliver and Company, I watched this week.
I did watch it. Yeah.
We have plenty to talk about. We do. We have what do we call it when you watch a whole lot of things and you notice some commonalities? We definitely have some theories we've developed from watching these movies about what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And what's wrong.
Very true. I figured we'd do a 15-minute. No, that's literally not the one I wanted. The finger was working. Put this one. Ugh. It's so fast. Oh, I like this one better. Okay. Okay. We're going to do a 15-minute timer. You can take this time to do like get a drink or tea or what have you, or something, a snack, or if you can write. And we will meet back here in 15 minutes to talk about Disney movies. You ready?
Yes.
In 3, 2, 1, sprint! Beep 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 beep. It's time. Is
I'm
everybody
back.
back? Yay! How did everybody do?
I started cooking top ramen in the microwave because I'm lazy. That's what I did.
I walked
Tom?
around, did a few little things, got some more water.
Now, Tom, do you mean water or water?
Just water. This. I have for some reason I need water to go with the daiquiri. Like it's one slug of daiquiri and then one slug of water.
It's pretty
Like
rich.
it's
I'll say
soft
that. The
serve.
daiquiri is pretty rich.
It is a soft serve shake.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm. It is quite good. Yeah. I wrote some. I
And you're doing nano, right, Glory? And how are you
yes.
on your nano? Where are you at in word count wise?
Oh, terrible. I think it foretells that I shall finish this story at my current pace in March.
Oh,
Look,
I accidentally pulled an all-nighter on Saturday, and I stopped writing at 6 a.m. and then went to church on Sunday morning. I
Wow.
am now, yeah, I am now at 24,185 words.
oh,
So just about
Very nice.
halfway. But
Yeah.
now
yeah. So you're on
I'm
track.
to the point of I don't know what I'm going to do next in the story. So I'll wait for inspiration to strike, and then I'll write another few thousand words, and then I'll be like, I don't know.
Yeah. I wrote about, I don't know, probably, I did not actually check, but it looks like somewhere between 200 and 300 words during our sprint. And I didn't even have to reread the scene though. I could just jump in. I knew where we were, where I was, and what our the characters were doing. And it was so nice. It's so refreshing. This is like the first experience I've had writing that's been so enjoyable.
And I enjoy my story. I'm just like, it's a part of starting a fresh chapter. It always makes me like go, how can I start it other than they woke up and went downstairs?
And I mean,
Yeah,
that's fine for a zero draft. You just get it on paper, and then it's all in edits and revisions. It's all in edits and revisions. And that's sort of the philosophy I'm taking. Like, I did outline, I sort of outlined. I did like a loose outline where I went over and figured out all the pivotal scenes in the story. And then I figured out what order, because essentially it's a love triangle. So I've got two romances I'm juggling at once. Plus, the protagonist's personal life, what's also going on, like with her career, as well as her home life. So there's a lot of stuff, and I had to like figure out the pivotal scenes and in what order makes most sense. And then I wrote that out, and then now it's just, for Nano, what I'm just doing is I'm writing out every pivotal scene. And then from there, that the next draft will be me like figuring out the interstitial scenes that start transitioning through the pivotal scenes. And then from there, like it's just like editing upon editing forever, just forever. It'd be layers upon layers of rewriting for flow and everything. But like the first, like most important bit is the pivotal scenes. Like it's not a story without moving the plot forward.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did like a loosely outline, and I wrote down like what scenes I want, and then I got them in order of the order I want them. It's just transitioning from one scene to the next. That's always like how to make it not be the same transition, and how to make it not be boring.
Yeah.
How to make it so that the person who's reading it actually wants to turn to the next page and go to the next chapter.
Oh, well, that's hook. That's a little different. You can put a hook in the crappiest interstitial scene, still works. Let's see. Where was I? Okay. Oh, I missed some. Okay. Love Bug. Love Bug. We got to vote for Love Bug. Let's see. My cousin used to love the Love Bug, and Herbie never could get into them. Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Yes. The Black Hole. He used to put it on HBO. That's interesting.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that part. It was always like, why are they playing this?
Yeah, Pete's Dragon for a childhood. Yeah, my daycare played Pete's Dragon all the time, almost as much as they played Watership Down. I love the remake Parent Trap, but yeah, that is, I think Parent Trap, I want to say is late 90s or early 2000s. I'm not.
Early 2000s.
Don't quote me. Like right up there with Freaky Friday, because they also did a remake of that. Like, because it was like, we have Lindsay Lohan. How many vehicles? Maggie said, I love Flood the Navigator. Parent Trap was at that time. Yeah. Like the original Parent Trap, I believe, was in the 50s, which is part of the Disney Silver Age. And then the remake of Parent Trap was, I believe, in the late 90s, early 2000s. So
yeah.
That was like, I think, the end of the Disney Renaissance and the beginning of what's called either the Disney Dark Ages Part 2 or Disney's experimental era.
Well, they've made 3 different versions of the Parent Trap.
I cannot keep up.
They did the first one, like the oldest one, back in like I don't know who was in it, and then they had the one with
Mills
in it, and then they had the one with the Olsen twins in it.
Oh no, you're right.
There's an Olsen twins Parent Trap.
Yes.
I mean, that's the point. I'm feeling.
It's cute. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. They meet up at summer camp. They switch houses.
Yeah, they
get back together. So, yeah.
Let's see. The original one, 1961. Yep. And 98. Yes. Maggie says, this is where I stopped. Every female has been implanted that can be, and we have had the first child at birth, but there are still 17% of your females who may never carry a child. There is so much to unpack there. So many questions. Heather says, ironically, the man who played Max in the Black Hole. Yes, and I found this very confusing. It was like same. Cat Nemo into space. Like as a child, I did not understand it wasn't a sequel.
Right, the Olsen twins did not actually make a copycat one, but it was called It Takes Two.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's basically the same.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a ripoff.
Right.
Like if not, like they just paid for the original book rights as well.
Right. And Maggie says that she's starting to doze, so she's got a bit of dew. Bye-bye. Hope you get some rest, sweetie. Let's see. CB got 221 words.
Bro.
And oh yes, it's a smoothie with booze. A boozy. And Heather has to go. Bye-bye. See you later.
Bye, Heather. It was nice seeing you in the comments.
And let's see. Maggie got 1.2 thousand. Let's see. So 1,200 words this morning. It's excellent, especially for feeling under the weather.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really impressed. I swear, I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous. I'm fine. So everything's fine. The CV says, irrespective of whether I was there or not, you neglected to invite Colonel Rhodes, Mr. Stark's best friend, since the age of 15, since they met at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So, just saying. Heather says, but I created my streams for the week during that sprint, so thanks. Yay! It's about getting things done. I really think so. And Maggie says, I'm happy because I finished 444 pages of editing. Oh, good Lord. Now to find betas.
My God.
Little betas. Just flying by. That is
I'll
wonderful.
Beta read. I have an excellent beta reader.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm volunteering.
They're like, I need to get through my nano before I commit to anyone else's projects right now. But pretty much, like, I'm like making a list of like who will still essentially be doing a beta when I get through this, because I essentially, after I write my 0 draft, I'm going to need to give it a few days, if not a few weeks, for me to forget everything, to then edit with fresh eyes. That is part of my workflow.
Yeah, I'm gonna get around that by like when I finish my rough draft, I'm going to like beta read for a couple of like beta read some stuff. So that way I'm focusing on other people's stuff other than my own.
Well, and that's what I plan to do after the Nano, is then beta read other people's stuff.
Oh.
And by that point, I will come back to mine clear-headed and be like, what is this magical story that supposedly is in my handwriting?
I don't remember writing that. Why would I write that? All right, I guess I'll go with it. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, you just take the words. Yes, Stephanie, that's exactly what I think. It's literally my technique. Maggie says it's going to be weird because the first book is such a different feel from the second book. Is it a different point of view? I mean, if it's something like that, that would be understandable why it would have a different feel. Or is it like more like the action has the suspense, the immediacy has increased, so there's more tension? Because again, that does make sense. Why like one book would feel different from another book. And I have read books like that where it's like, now we're going to get into it. You know, it's like the roller coaster. Now we're going on the downslope, and we are expecting it to feel more intense. Yes, I too enjoy everything Pepper is up to. That's right. Kicking butt and taking names. In fact, Pepper's, I think, first breakout storyline in Iron Man, in Iron Man in the 80s, where Pepper did a hostile takeover of Stark Industries, was the hotly debated comic book in our family that I was allowed to read. My mother felt for feminist reasons I should be able to read it, even though at that point I was like 7 or 8 and only allowed to read Archie's and, what was the other one? Casper. Let's see, there was Casper. I can't remember. There's a third. There's another one that was always at like the 7-Eleven that kids could buy. And it was those really basic kiddie comic books. And because like we weren't even allowed to read Howard the Duck or anything grown up like that. And my mother was like, I know normally I would never let her read such grown up fare as Iron Man. Yes, my mother said that. And my father, because my father was very against like us reading more grown up fare. But mom's like, she needs to see this. This is like this very feminist, hostile takeover of her boyfriend's company, da-da-da-da-da. And I mean, like, Mom and Dad, they literally talked about this for weeks until I was finally allowed to read it. Because, like, everybody at school was talking about Pepper Potts did a hostile takeover of Stark Industries and won. And Tony doesn't even have his company anymore. And, da-da-da, Pepper's so smart, Pepper's so powerful, da-da-da-da-da. And, and like finally I was allowed. I think it was like, I want to say it was only like a 2 or 3 issue story arc.
Yeah, it was a short one.
Or maybe 4. I don't remember. It's been literally decades and I've slept since then. But I remember this was a big deal that my parents cared so much they were letting me read grown-up fare, grown-up comics. And that I was not going to be allowed to read the other stuff later, but only this Pepper Potts story arc. So I would get to read each one, but only with my mother literally sitting there. And then afterwards, I would have to essentially do a Q&A with my mother about the issue.
Wow.
It was very parental guidance. Yes. Let's see. Little Snarky Pepper. We're all a fan of Snarky Pepper. Yes, Natasha Richardson was in the 1998 version of The Parent Trap. CB is redrafting their Nano project right now. That's awesome. Oh, Stephanie, Maggie says, find me on Twitter and I will send them to you. So that is awesome. Book 1 is on Earth and most of book 2 is on Elo. Maybe I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. Because Andy gets kidnapped and taken it. See, that makes sense. Like, if you take a new major setting, it would make sense that there is a different feel to the issue, that episode, essentially, like the book. It would make sense that there's a different feel to the different setting. CB says she basically did it because she had found a potentially very expensive error. Oh. Errors in accounting. Pepper's upset. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to say maybe it's movie. If they didn't exactly do the takeover quite the same. Like I think in the comic, it was truly a "you're out on your butt, Tony." It was because she was really trying to give him a wake up call to show him how stop running your company and this company, all these people are depending on you, and you're running it to the ground. Blah blah blah. So I'll do it better.
Yeah,
And of course,
in the '80s, that Tony was still very much a alcoholic, not addressing his problems. So that was also part of why, of a way to kind of trying to get through to Tony that he had so many problems he needed to face and stop avoiding.
it was a very 80s approach to a problem.
Yeah.
Of
corporate
take the
takeover
toy away from him. Yes, very confrontational. Very yeah. Yeah. In the comic, she ends up with Happy. See, I could see that. Book 2, Annie is working. Let's see. Oh, here. Book 1, Annie is a ghostwriter with PTSD on the run from Omni Energy Mercs with 3 aliens who came to stop them from using her late mother's research while trying to finish a book project. Book 2, Annie is working for MOARA and still trying to contain the Pandora research and stop ELO renegades. She is kidnapped because the ELO are on the verge of a civil war and extinction.
Yeah.
There's so much going on.
I would expect it to feel differently.
Yeah, on the verge of a civil war and extinction, I would expect it to be so much more intense than on Earth, where people are not, in that level of danger or.
But this is the what I would expect for a trilogy type story or anything where you're essentially seeing the story arc we're used to now magnified into what happens when you do it across 3 books or 4 books.
Mm-hmm.
The second one's always kind of, Empire Strikes Back. Will anyone survive this? This is, a dark time.
Drama! Yes.
Yeah.
So, I thought we would talk about, before we really go into the Disney movies, we would talk about what it seems most critics, historians, cinema analysts, words, I don't know what those are, talk about what makes a top tier Disney movie. I have written them down because I forget things. And they don't need to be in any particular order, but you need 5 things. And I actually think this is rather true of not just Disney movies, but like adventure stories in general. Not necessarily romance, but like adventure stories. You're going to need at least 4 out of all these 5. And then I actually kind of debate that you need the 5th one. So you'll see. So number 1, and these are again in no particular order, truly scary moments. Or a moment, just at least one truly scary moment where you're like, oh, what's going to happen? 2,
for the main characters.
With the main characters. 2, a genuinely funny moment or moments. Again, you need real comedy. And I know that humor can be a challenge for some writers. There are resources for this, but just remember the basic idea of what is a joke. It is a benign violation. You take something benign and you violate it. You take something dangerous, a violation, and then you make it benign. You make it not scary after all. And that is a joke. I mean, that's really when you boil down to the absolute basic of what is humor. And then the other thing is always punch up, never punch down. And then the third thing you need for a Disney movie, a top tier Disney movie, is singable music. We definitely see in the Dark Age era, not every movie had, some movies didn't even have hardly any music, but even the ones that did have music, they were not necessarily singable. Like, for instance, in The Rescuers, not very singable, not very memorable lyrics, not catchy tunes. And I do argue that this is actually true of a lot of adventure stories, not even just the visual medium, because, like, you can reference music in your written adventure story. You can, so for instance, like Tolkien had oodles of poems, lyrics, music, and you can even use copyright-free, Creative Commons tunes that are everyone's familiar with because they've been around since age memoriam, and you can just give new lyrics to it. But it does help the reader kind of feel connected to this story as the characters are experiencing it, and music is one useful way to do it.
Like in Robin Hood, where you said, you looked it up, and that song they have in Robin Hood about Prince John is the first and he is the worst.
The Phony King of England song in the movie is actually based on an old English bawdy song called The Bastard King of England. Oh. And I did not know that. I didn't know it because I don't live in England. And also I went and looked it up and listened to a bunch of versions on YouTube, which are available. And they say based on. No, they just totally took it and they literally changed, I think, like 3 or 4 words in the entire song. They did not change hardly anything. So to say it's based on, this is BS. They just literally wholeheartedly took it and they just changed, bastard to phony for Disney-fied. It's the same thing. So you can do that with your own stories as well. The fourth thing is the protagonist that the audience can't help but root for. We did see this in some of the Disney Dark Age movies that you're like, I just don't care about this protagonist. Like this.
Again, Robin Hood. Yeah.
How about the Devil and Max Devlin?
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm not rooting for anyone but his victims. Anyway, and 5, a villain who scares even when they're acting kind. So our favorite example is not a Disney movie, although a Disney example would be Ursula the Sea Witch. Even when she's acting kind, you're like, oh my God, get away. Don't let her touch you. She'll turn you into a worm.
Or Gaston.
Gaston. Oh, even when he's being kind, it's like, ew, no, he's going to crack your skull. But the one we talked about is not a Disney movie. It is the Chickmuck Adventure. Who's old enough to remember the Chickmuck Adventure? But Claudia of Klaus and Claudia, the villains in the Chickmuck Adventure movie, Claudia, even when she is being kind, you're like, oh my God, she is going to murder these children in their sleep, the Chickmunks and the Chipheads. Like, she's so scary. I mean, at a certain point, even though you don't like her little Yorkie Sophie, you still feel bad of like, what crime did Sophie commit in another life to get stuck as Claudia's pet? Because surely no dog deserves this woman as their owner. Even though Claudia is not mean to Sophie, it's still like, my God, Claudia is so scary that you're like, no one's safe, not even Sophie. So that is our favorite.
That is what we noticed. That's what we noticed for Disney movies about what made them memorable, and people keep watching them and they talk about them being, these are the best of the Disney movies versus the B and, C and D level for the Dark Ages. Right. And we can tell you, and especially every cartoon and live action, what it was missing.
Okay, so I just wanted to essentially set the base so that everybody knows what we're talking about and knows why we're saying it. And this is why we wanted to talk about the Disney Dark Age movies. It was because they felt, especially if you're doing an adventure story or if your story has elements of adventure, it is useful to know what will make it an enjoyable adventure. It is not necessarily a fast-moving plot that you need to make it a fun adventure story or a fun adventure story arc, plot line, whatever. In your story, it is that you need these 4 to 5 elements to make it enjoyable for the reader. And we know this works because when Disney does it, it works. When Disney drops the ball on at least one, if not multiple, of these 5, it does not work. And it's really obvious it doesn't work. And if you go back and you start watching Disney movies with this idea of these 5 things, you'll start noticing like, oh, wait, this villain is not actually that scary, or the villain is scary, but I'm never genuinely worried that the protagonist is in danger. At no point in Robin Hood am I genuinely worried that Robin's not going to make it. I mean, at one point, I'm a little bit worried for Friar Tuck when it's like, are they going to hang him?
Yeah.
But even then, I know Robin's going to save the friar in some way, even if it's, sending an arrow through the rope of on the hanging noose, something. I'm not genuinely worried for Friar Tuck because there's never any true danger. There's never a conflict that prevents the characters from acting in their natural way. So that's why it doesn't quite work. It's not a top tier movie. It didn't really, while it was popular when it came out, even at the time, critics also were like, this is not top tier Disney. This is just so-so. Also, the other reason why a lot of these Disney Dark Age movies were not top tier is because they cut a lot of corners. And when I say they cut corners, I am talking about some serious freaking corners. They literally plagiarized their own animation pieces where they would just do the overlay over and change the character. But you notice there's, we talked about, there's this move that Disney female characters do when they're doing the dance. And that's where they move their dress, or it could be their cape, or it will be something. And I think there's one movie where they're doing this and they're not holding anything. They're just, this is how she's literally dancing. And it's because they plagiarize themselves. I'm sorry, you have how many junior animators and new up and coming animators, and you don't have any of them animate new stuff? They're just tracing. They're just tracing what's been done for 30, 40 years.
And the other problem,
innovation?
Yeah. And the other problem with Robin Hood is supposed to be the hero, but he is not who saves at the end of the movie. It's such a weak ending, and people remember the beginning of a story, they remember the end of a story. They don't actually remember as much the middle, unless you have a joke or something for them to remember. And the ending is, oh, look, all of a sudden, through no fault of anyone in the story, King Richard shows back up and takes back power. Otherwise, this would have continued, and actually, Robin Hood just keeps making everyone else's life worse by driving Prince John even crazier. If anything, you don't like Robin more as the story progresses.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and to go into the next one, I mean, The Rescuers, where it is so boring. There's no one really sings in it.
Well, technically, there's a voiceover that sings.
Yeah.
But there are these really...
But none of the characters sing.
None of the characters sing.
None of the characters sing. And also, the songs themselves are in passive voice.
Yes.
So they're just sort of wispy, ephemeral songs about longing and never about doing or going and getting. I mean, let's think about some of the songs that we all know and love. Well, whether we love it or not, that's something else, but we remember. How about through the mist, through the woods, through the darkness, and the... you all know exactly what movie I'm talking about. I mean, honestly, if you've seen it, then you know which one. Because it's not passive. You're in it. You know what's happening in this song, and you can absolutely imagine yourself in this moment of drama, of conflict, of adventure. And so we remember the words because we can relate and because they make sense versus, oh, I wish it was a better day. Excuse me, no, that is not singable. It needs to be a singable song.
Also, I realized we probably should put it next time in there, which is it needs to be a musical song, not a jukebox song. Because a musical song is where the music tells you about what the characters are doing and the characters are thinking. If you remove that song, we have lost information in that story.
Right.
If you remove a jukebox song,
meh. Oh, so let me little anecdote. So The Devil and Max Devlin. Okay, I have so many things to say about this movie, but and the worst part was I liked this movie as a kid. That hurt. It was like stabbing myself in the heart. But anyway, there's only one song in this whole blasted movie. It is a jukebox song, and one of the tertiary characters, one of the victims, because it's a Faustian tale. One of the victims wants to be a singer, and this is the song she wrote, and this is the song she sings. And she only sings about 2 lines. It's the same 2 lines in almost every single scene we ever see her in. And I am so sick of the movie by the end of the first hour. And they never have a second song. She's a songwriter, but she only has the one song. It's absolutely terrible. Talk about some cost cutting. We could not even have a second song. She supposedly came out with a whole album. This is why she's now on tour. But she's only got the one song. and they just keep singing it. And it's not even the whole song. It's just 2 lines from it. It's the same 2 lines. And it's absolutely disgusting. I'm so sick of it. I never want to hear this again. I can understand why this song did not even make it onto the radio. It's so bad. And again, it's in passive voice. It's a whiny song. It's a whiny song about love. No, I mean,
Tell us how you feel.
Somebody writing a rom-com, and I'm like, it's about love.
Actually, this was the same complaint I had when I watched Oliver and Company, because I remember when I watched it in the theaters originally, I left watching Oliver and Company going, and I couldn't really verbalize why. I just remember having this vague disappointment watching it. And there are so many reasons Oliver and Company gave that feeling, and it wasn't even just the story. But, like, you could tell that Disney was trying to cut costs by not having any songwriters hired, and instead they hired known songwriters to voice the main characters.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is they didn't have contract with musician, composers. Oh, that's the alarm about if we want to go on break again.
Let's go a little 10-minute and...
Okay. And about if you wanted to have a lyricist, someone to write lyrics and someone to write the music too. And you'd have them in contract. So they worked for you and they got paid whether they, wrote songs that you went to press with, you put in a movie or not. They got paid. And then, of course, often the contracts would involve, maybe they get a back end deal, if the movie was successful, blah, 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 something. Or usually how much the soundtrack itself sold is where they would get some kind of kickback on. But no matter what, like they did that with Little Mermaid, with Menken, and why can I not remember his name? I'm gonna have to look it up. But with those two, they did it with Anderson and Lopez for Frozen. But they did not do it. I have not actually stumbled across in all of my research on Wikipedia for all of these movie articles. I haven't come across where any of the people who wrote the music for these movies was under contract with Disney.
Yeah.
Like, it was like they were like, we don't have to have them in contract anymore. So as far as I can tell, the Shermans were the last one on contract. Like, in their contract, I think, ended in 1968, and then they came back in 1969 to finish up Bedknobs and Broomsticks music, because they had written that and Mary Poppins. They finished that, and then that was, as far as I could tell, I haven't stumbled across. I'm not saying there weren't, but I've had a hard time finding them, where they had duos or trios who did the music who were under contract with Disney.
And so what you get in Oliver and Company is this really weird, where the main character, done by Billy Joel, has like just the most half-assed song you've ever heard. It is literally one refrain, or what do you call it? What's the repeating line set called?
The chorus?
Chorus. It is literally one chorus that leads into another chorus. There is no actual song in this song. It's just a chorus and then a chorus and a chorus. Versus Bette Midler, obviously, is like, no, I am always bringing my best. And she wrote a full song for her character. But no one else has another song. That's it. Bette Midler's the only full song in the entire movie. And it's like, you can definitely tell the cost-cutting measures here.
Yes, it does seem like cost-cutting, because it definitely seems like surely anyone with half a brain would be like, no, we need to have like a duo or a trio to write this music. Real quick, just to keep up with it, Maggie does say Tony Stark has a whole freight train of baggage. I happen to agree. CB says, actually, the movie canon, Tony basically gives Pepper responsibility for the company because he's got palladium poisoning. Yes, not as quite as much fun as a hostile takeover, but then again, hostile takeovers were very Bonfire of the Vanities, very 80s-ish.
Yeah.
Maggie says, working on book 3 for Nana. That's awesome. And trying to stay awake. I know, sweetie. Look, if you need to sleep, just drift off to the sound of our voice. Just let it roll over you and envelop you in a lovely, awkward sibling burrito. Princesses Yes. Funny story. Until last summer, I couldn't do the 12 times tables at all until I set the multiples to Ode to Joy. Oh, yes, one of my favorite mnemonic tunes.
Mm-hmm.
And Maggie says my 5 are 1, incompetent hero with a complex. 2, pretty girl who is independent until she meets her designated crush. 3, cute animals versus ugly brutish animals. 4, vague political satire. 5, earworm music. Let's see. Maggie says Gaston is the sneeriest.
Last year, me and my 2 girls, we went to go see Beauty and the Beast at the local high school, and they could not have picked a character or person to play Gaston that was better. Like, he even had like the real hairy chest, like in the movie. Like, it wasn't fake; it was actually real hairy chest. It was
a teenager with a hairy chest.
It was weird,
Ooh,
but it was
right
good. He did good, right?
Yes. Yes, I agree. Glenn Close did a great job as Cruella.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, honestly, yes. And I saw her in Bette Midler as a fundraiser this year, did In Search of the Sanderson Sisters. And I think there's a couple of versions on YouTube, or at least maybe right now. I do recommend, if you can find a good copy, to watch it. And Glenn Close and Meryl Streep are both in it, and it is fantastic. Yes. So let's see. Maggie says, but sadly, she looked like my grandmother did when I was young. Well, if you got to look
awkward.
If you got to look awesome, look like Cruella de Vil. Stevie says Simpsons do that with animated cells. Super annoying. Maggie says Maid Marian was so kicking butt, but then she was like, oh no, boo-hoo, he's gone. Suck it up, Chica. You got to keep him safe.
No kidding. Like, Maid Marian was so wasted.
She was very wasted. Charlie has joined us. Hey, darling. How's the Monday going? CB says Robin Hood Disney cartoon version was cute till I was 9. I mean, I have to admit, like, I've still watched the Disney Robin Hood version from time to time, and I'm 40 something. We are all saying hi to Charlie. Charlie's been saying hi to everybody else. The bunnies stop, wait for me, Wobbin. I am slow. I love that little bunny with the little bunny doll. Oh my god.
I love the little sister. Oh.
Fat little bunny. Oh, and she's got the little wings. Ah! I love fat babies so much. And then she's got the little impediment.
The little speech impediment.
Whoa. Stevie says, looking back at it now, I much prefer Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Let's see. Maggie says, love, it seems like only yesterday you were just a child at play. Now you're all grown up and suddenly, oh, how fast the moments flee. Is that from the song from Robin Hood? Seems familiar.
No, it's from The Rescuers, I thought.
Oh. Well, see, there's a song in Robin Hood also called Love. Because it's the 70s and everything gets confusing.
Well, keep going.
CB says we never got to see Oliver and Company in the cinema because it was sold out or the projector was broke down or something.
You're not missing out on Oliver and Company.
Maggie says, but there were so many songs in the late 60s and 70s that were whiny love ballads. Yes, including, what was it, The Way We Were?
Yes.
And
Love Song? Yeah.
Was not a fan of this. And Megan is here. Hello. And on hold with the government. The hold time is 116 minutes. Well, what a great way to pass the time is what I say. I mean, good Lord. That is terrible. Maggie said it's like the angsty, whiny autotune guy with the guitar music that was popular a few years ago. Yes. Pretty much I feel that way about every guy who shows up with a guitar at parties. And he is not scheduled to play. He just showed up with a guitar at a party and starts playing, even though people would prefer to have a conversation. The CB says, same thing happened with Fern Gully. Actually, we never got to see it because of so technical. Okay, I'm going to say this. So controversial, yet so brave. I still think I still like Fern Gully. I will have to watch it again to be sure.
Yeah.
But I vaguely remember that I liked at least parts of it.
And I remember I liked, like, at least 2 of the songs were singable, Like we did sing them in school a bit to each other.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, that one from the perspective of the crude oil.
Yeah.
I like villain songs, if you don't know. I like villain songs a lot.
No kidding.
Yeah. The CB says just found out there's gonna be a sequel to the Simpsons movie. Yes, because all animation is getting pushed forward right now because of the pandemic. Because at least you can still make those because home computers have now really gotten powerful. So you can actually do apparently some level of animation on home computers, which is pretty amazing. Let's see. Maggie says it's from both. Oh, it's from both. They recycled it. That is a very dark age, Disney dark age thing to do. Yeah, The Way We Were is the reason I hate Barbra Streisand. I happen to like that song. Just it's eye rolling. When we lived in the Philippines, every single taxi I ever took was playing Barbra Streisand.
Oh God, yeah.
And often The Way We Were was the song playing. And I mean, like, they'll suddenly not know how to speak English if you ask them to stop playing the Barbra Streisand cassette. So just
well, if they don't play Barbra Streisand, then they're gonna play what's his name? Country Roads Take Me Home.
John Denver?
Yes.
Yes.
That was the alternate choice.
Yeah, and it was like, honestly, I'll still take Barbara on her worst day over John Denver most of the time. It's not like I hate John Denver. I don't. It's just, at least, you know, they'll eventually sing Send in the Clowns and The Ladies Who Lunch. The Ladies Who Lunch is my favorite Barbra Streisand song that she's ever recorded that she plays. I like that one. She does have a beautiful voice for that. Eva has joined us. Hello, darling. One of these days, you know what? You made it. And we're happy that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Better late than never.
Amen. From the top, y'all. We've already done that once today, darling. I thought we went live and we didn't. Anyway. Yes, we are very happy to have you. The voice, hers. Okay. Charlie's a little late too. The hubby is a little under the weather. Yeah, a little rundown. That's how I felt this weekend. I figured maybe, you know, with my flu shot, or I wasn't feeling great before I got my flu shot. Because everybody was talking about, you know, you're less stressed. It's like, you know, teachers always get sick Friday night. So after the elections, a lot of people felt ill because they were less stressed. And I thought maybe that's why I didn't feel great.
So does that mean that when my kids all move out, not to worry about them anymore, I'll get horribly sick because I won't have anything to stress about?
I mean, that's fair, yeah.
It's a possibility, but if you're a certain kind of parent, it just means you're going to worry about what they're doing now that you don't know what they're doing immediately. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I think I'll stress and worry about one of them. The other two I think will probably be pretty self-sufficient, so I think I'd be okay.
There you go. Yeah. This morning I woke up and I sneezed for 3 hours solid. I went through half a box of Kleenex. I had my allergy, and it's still like, and it's really obvious when I was putting on concealer of like how red rimmed my eyes are, and I haven't rubbed them much. It's just from the sneezing and the allergies. It's just, hello, allergies. And I don't know if it's from the cleaning of my bedroom yesterday, because, you know, that's what you do in Nano if you're going to procrastinate, and you at least have to, like, organize something.
I tore apart her closet and a shelf to procrastinate, so,
I know, you did. And, like, yeah, I literally filled up 2 garbage bags yesterday with all of my cleaning and organizing. I mean, seriously, I was kicking up dust.
Hey, are you about ready for... Should we go on a break?
Yep. You want to, shall we do a 20-minute timer?
Yeah, let's do 20.
Sure. Okay. All right, everybody. Are you ready? We're going to do the things that we need to do. Maybe we'll write, maybe we'll vacuum, maybe we'll just get ice cream. Do what you got to do. So we're going to be back here in 20 minutes. Remembering how things work. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1, sprint! Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. You need to unmute your mic, Tom. Hello, everybody. How did it go? Tom, I think you're still muted.
The computer's frozen.
Yeah, it won't let me unmute you. Can't unmute your guests because they chose to mute themselves. He'll use his hand and we'll be able to figure it out. Stephanie needed to go because she said her phone was overheating. So yeah, your phone, which one are you on? Your computer, your tablet on this one? It is definitely going through some stuff because you end up looking like not enough cells. You know, what is the word? Let's play this with somebody. Stroboscopic. Thank you. I'm glad you're in another room so I can hear you. Oh, but is it an awkward sibling show without technical difficulties? I think not. So, let's see. So anyway, so Stephanie had to go, at least till the phone cools down. She may be back at some point. And I can hear Tom through the door, so things are going great. What would happen if I and then can I? No, I still can't. You muted yourself, so I can't get you out of there. You're in mute jail. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. It's just me. Yep. Things were going so well with the computer, and now they're not. But anyway, so in the meantime, let's see where we are. We all hoped that Charlie would feel better soon and that she and the hubby don't have the plague. And something about grandkids? I'm not sure. Charlie has assured Maggie and the rest of us that neither of them have a fever or cough. So, not the plague. Head congestion and pack sinuses. Oh, honey, can I relate? I mean, like I can feel the swelling. Maggie has edited 444 pages to procrastinate, so she's winning. She is. She's doing great. The way that I handle writing, particularly Nano, is we have another. It's a wild Tom. Hi, Tom. I hear nothing. There we go. I heard something. I heard a crackle. Say something, buddy. Say something, Tom. Nothing. This is just it. You get a Morse code for us?
All right, let's try this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Would you like to see my laptop right now?
Okay, you could show it to us. Oh, let's get a view. Oh, the blue screen of death.
No, not the BSOD. Read closer.
Windows getting ready to update. Yes, welcome to... Oh, anyway, I have some thoughts. Cannot believe it did that in the middle.
Yeah, the true Windows insult.
We're just going to do your update now, whether you want it or not. Mahahaha.
Oh, you turned off your computer. Guess what? We've got updates to do.
Yeah. CB says they are congested as well because of their electric heating. Understandable. I have that every time the heating turns on for the first time this season. Let's see. Checking in on Maggie. I feel so much worse today than I did Saturday. I mean, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Still not sure how I tested negative while everyone else tested positive and we all have the same symptoms. That's fair.
Actually, I did post an answer to that.
Okay.
Um,
We'll get there.
down.
Eva says, I've read a lot of things about a lot of things. It's testing. Jumped. Is that everybody following on the card? Hope your bingo card is all filled up. I know the speed tests are less reliable. It did false negatives and false positives, and it's all a hot mess. And the local health department is reporting testing in a new way. So, of course, that's terribly confusing and weird. And they put everything on the map, but math. Yes, I remember when 10 cases of COVID a day was high, though. So 100,000 a day is insane. I just had to do it.
What was that? A decade ago that 10 was high?
Yeah, it was at least a decade, maybe like 12 or 15 years. I was young and fresh back then.
Yeah.
And now I am decrepit and I have prematurely aged. And for some reason, I ended up today looking like a very old Snow White.
You don't look that old, actually. For
middle-aged Snow White. Can we go with that?
Yeah. At most, you're middle-aged. Or just, a real haggard 20-something.
Oh, because everybody loves to be described as haggard versus middle-aged. I think I will take middle-aged over haggard. So anyway, so Tom says you can test negative while you have it up to 5 days. So you might just be slightly behind the rest of the family in the amount of antibodies you've made. Because it's great.
Yeah, that's why, even if you test negative, you still actually have to quarantine for a few more days and then test you again. Because you could test positive later. You just didn't have enough to show up.
Right, because your immune system, for whatever reason, hadn't quite gotten there where it needed to be fully diseased. Test result or nay. I hope everyone feels better and has no long-lasting or short-lasting ill effects and can breathe easy soon.
Please,
and I really hope, and I hope that everybody who does get sick is in a place financially where they could order a $16 oximeter off of Amazon or wherever you get a reliable oximeter, the kind with an alarm, so that you can test yourself and your family members regularly throughout the day. Because let me tell you, one of the early symptoms of not getting enough oxygen to your brain is not realizing you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain. So the first symptom is making bad choices. And it only goes downhill from there. So please, if you don't already, but you can spare like $16, please. And if you would like some help finding a good one that's available for immediate shipment, please, I would be happy to help. Just let me know, and I'll be happy to help you after the show, because I want all of my friends to survive this. Especially, I do not want any of my friends to suffer oxygen deprivation, because let me tell you, as somebody who has been in the hospital for sepsis within the last year, you need your brain working to write. It's been a real struggle of a year to heal enough to be able to write again, like coherently. So, if I can help, I would absolutely love to help you. But at the very least, please, everybody get an oximeter. Like, you don't know how much anxiety I have every time I see Tom sleeping, and he's sleeping like the dead. And I'm like, is he still alive, or is the CPAP breathing for him? Because we don't have an oximeter, because somebody refuses to order it. That's right, I'm going to public shaming now. So anyway, let's all encourage. Bless you. I hope it's allergies. So let's publicly encourage Tom to get an oximeter so that I can sleep well at night. So anyway, CB got 310 words. Excellent. Doing amazing work. Eva says, just try F3. Yeah. I don't think it was going to work on this one. Yes, I know. It is a good tech joke. I agree, though. I got somewhere, again, between 200 and 300 words. The scene is progressing very nicely. I think it's almost done. I'm almost out of this party. We're going to get there eventually. How would you do, Tom, other than curse at your computer a bunch? Anything beyond that, or is that?
I practice my miming.
I enjoyed that. Yeah. CB says, why not knowing about Colonel Rhodes? You just proved my point. If you and Mr. Stark were truly together, you would know that Colonel Rhodes is Mr. Stark's best friend. So,
Oh, so much guilt. That's some shade right there.
you were a good friend. You would know. I'm just Mr. Stark's personal assistant, and even I know that one. Any more tall tales you want to cook up? You want on the nose?
You wart.
You wart on the nose of humanity. So much drama. So much sassiness. Yes, I can hear you through the door. 45 minutes before my writing group on Friday, Optimus Prime, my MacBook Air, decided to update. Oh, no. I mean, why are they like this? They are like this.
Oh, yeah. And as for how it's currently going.
How is it currently going?
Still running Windows installers and other background things. Like,
okay,
I have no processing.
I literally see nothing. It's just, It's okay. We'll just take your word for it.
But yeah, like, it's just trying to install Windows programs in the background.
So let's see. Oh, yes. So back to Disney.
Oh, yes, that subject.
We still need to talk about the show, the movies. I went through all this hell. Okay, you know what? Let me just go ahead and do my weird little rant about The Devil and Max Devlin. I have so many thoughts and feelings about this movie. Number one, Bill Cosby plays the devil in it. And 2020, watching it in 2020 is awkward. Very uncomfortable at best. Especially, yeah. Number two, I hate this movie because it is called The Devil and Max Devlin, but what it could have been called is basic coursework on how to become a predator. Whether, it doesn't have to be a sexual predator. It could be, for instance, somebody collecting victims for serial killing like Ted Bundy and Dahmer. But it is super creepy. They literally follow all the, Max Devlin, since it's a Faustian story. And I love Faustian tales. In fact, can I just say my favorite Faustian story is by Roger Zelazny, and I can't remember somebody else. And it's actually a series. But the one that I originally picked up because I love this title was Bring Me the Head of Prince Charming. This was a delight to read. I love it. I love Faustian tales. Okay. It's one of my favorite tropes of all time.
And I think even on the cover it says a Faustian comedy of errors.
I love comedy of errors. I particularly love Faustian comedy of errors. This is not a comedy. The Devil and Max Devlin is not funny. It is just shows you how to groom victims. It is so disturbing. And again, as I mentioned before, they just have the one song and they just keep repeating the first part of the one song again and again and again about every 5 minutes for an hour. It's absolutely terrible. But I was not prepared to deal with my feelings about being so triggered from watching an instruction video on how to groom young victims. One of the victims is a woman in her late teens. I mean, at most early 20s, but I really think 18, 19, 17, 18, 19, somewhere there. There's another young man who is say his mid-teens, he looks like he's and they act like he's about 15, 16. And then there's a child who I think is 10. And I mean, this is so uncomfortable. This is so terrible, but it is actually correct grooming. I say, as somebody who has been groomed by several sexual predators from my childhood, several pedophiles, of oh no, This is way too accurate and horrifying. This is not the comedy I hope it was originally pitched as. And Disney put this out. This was apparently one of 3 movies that really pushed Disney in the early 80s to create Touchstone Pictures Studio so that they could distribute their more adult fare, not under the Disney name. And this is one of the 3 movies. I want to say also Something Wicked This Way Comes was another one of the 3 movies that was like the final point that Disney Studios was like, we have to make another name in order to, because people would like just send their child to go see any old Disney movie, but it's like The Devil and Max Devlin, while it had children in it, was not what I consider appropriate fare for younger children, nor was Something Wicked This Way Comes. Again, like it has children in it, but it's definitely not for young children. And this was before PG-13 was a known rating. Because PG-13, came out with Indiana Jones? Was that
after Indiana Jones? Indiana Jones actually caused the direct creation of it.
And when did Indiana Jones come out?
85, I believe, is Temple of Doom.
Like 80s. So this is a few years before PG-13. Because these movies definitely, had they come out a little later, would have been rated PG-13 for content at the very least, if not R rating, in my personal opinion. Because like The Devil Max Devlin, some of that content is, it's just cringy. The best I could say about it is it's cringy. That's the nicest thing I can say about an entire horrible conception of it. Versus Tron.
Oh God, I thought that it was just my childhood unable to understand, and I'm dismissing things. Now watching as adult, no, we afterwards had to go look up the history of Tron. And that's how we found out they okayed this movie with a script and then literally threw out the entire script.
Yes.
Like, no, it was before Michael Bay in Bay Explosions. There was Tron and Spectacle of, oh no, we know the scenes we want to do. We have no competence to do this.
Also, I guess since they threw out the script, because the original scriptwriter, McBird, apparently did in fact do so much research that she ended up marrying the guy who was her expert, which is fine. I mean,
and his Tron programmer is based on.
So I would like to say that I want to believe that the original script was not this level of insane, but the script, or what ended up being the script for the actual production of the movie Tron, I mean, I literally just kept pausing the movie and go, that is literally not how programming works. That is literally not, even back then, because like I got into software programming and debugging back so long ago. It was on a K Pro 2. I will give you extra points if anybody even goes and looks up. I don't even expect you to know what a K Pro 2 is, but go look up what a K Pro 2 is. It is so old. And it came with not one binder, several binders on how to program and debug everything. And literally the game that we played all the time as kids in the house on this K Pro 2 was like a Donkey Kong type game, only with X's and O's. Ladder. Yes, ladder. And the entire game was printed out. The software program was entirely printed out. And that was how I debugged it every time it would glitch, because it was on 2 floppy drives. And I would literally go line by line on the computer, little 9-inch terminal, and go line by line on the paper until I found where something glitched. And then I would fix it. And I would literally, it was literally like essentially proofreading. That's how long ago I got into programming. I was in middle school at the time. So I'm watching Tron going, even I know this is literally not how programming worked back then. And then they keep talking about it like freaking magic, and it's just like, I am insulted.
No. Here's to me is the biggest problem in all of Tron.
Okay.
And most people probably didn't even notice it because you're like just trying to figure out the story as you're watching it. But they make a point to point out that the main villain at the company, the vice president or whatever, is not an amazing programmer, but it's good at stealing programs. And they say that after he stole Flynn's programs and games, he then got the master control program, which is like this really advanced AI. And at no point in this entire movie do they say where the master control program came from, where the vice president got it, why this AI is trying to take over the world and the military and everything. Like, was it aliens? Where did the MCP come from? We never say this. We never discuss it. It just is.
It just is.
Like, this is the biggest, assumption in a story I have ever heard. Of the biggest, baddest bad just showed up, and it's a computer program. How did it even get in the computer?
The best I could find out in all of my research is it doesn't look like, and I could be wrong here because I only did a perfunctory research, but so there's like 2 games, there's an animated series, and there's a sequel to Tron.
Was Tron Legacy, 2 video games, and there's the short-lived animated series.
Right. And in all of that, they never go into Master Control Unit. Like, what is the origin story to Master Control Unit? And at no point do they ever explain this. It just magically came. So I'm inclined to say aliens because it doesn't make sense. Why
it can take over the functions of any other program?
Which again, it's not how computer programs work. Not even then when they were simpler. Anyway, so yeah, apparently Disney totally rewrote, like when they threw out the script, they totally rewrote the concepts behind it. They kept the director who originally pitched the movie. For some reason, they kept him. But they put in this quasi-religious stuff to explain, and it's like, why? This is computers. Anyway. And I feel like it's because like the Disney studio execs just did not understand how computers work. It was just magic to them, so they're going to describe it as magic. Which brings me to my point about why are the films the way they are? Why is the Disney Dark Ages the way it is? I have a theory. I have a theory why. Why are they such bad ideas? Why are they such weird cost cutting, corner cutting? Why do they take these weird shortcuts? Why would you buy a movie pitch and then throw out the script that it came with? Like, not even that you're renovating it, innovating it, editing it. No. Because that would make sense. No, you throw out the whole thing. Why would you go to all that trouble if you're going to toss it? Rather than work on it and improve it. Like, and my theory is, and this may ruin the algorithms, and I don't care, cocaine. Cocaine is the reason. Because cocaine, from everything I've ever been told from people who have recreationally used cocaine makes a lot of bad ideas seem great. This is what I've been told by people, long-term and short-term users, of like, oh yeah, all night you're like, this is the best idea ever. Finally, you come to whatever hours, days later, and you're like, what is this? This is the worst idea yet. I mean, that's how cocaine works. And my evidence for this is, again, talking about a non-Disney movie. There's a movie called Blues Brothers. You may or may not have heard of it. And I don't think I'm ruining anything here, but I'll say spoilers just in case. There is like a 20 or 30 minute car chase at the end of the movie. It goes on so long, I got bored after 10 minutes. And I literally went to Wikipedia again. This is like over a year or so ago. And I was like, why? Why would they put in such a long car chase where up until recently, it had the historical footnote of crashing the most cars in a production anywhere ever up until recently, I can't remember, sometime in the 2000s when someone else had to like break it just because, and they barely broke it. But anyway.
Yeah.
And then I read one account by Carrie Fisher and one account by Dan Aykroyd himself about there was a cast and crew after hours bar they set up during production. And it had alcohol and stuff. It had the usual things for when people are relaxing and chilling after filming. But apparently it had so much cocaine. Like according to Carrie Fisher, I mean, the amount of cocaine this production went through just during the course of filming, she was like impressed with. And this is saying something for a Hollywood darling of like a Hollywood dynasty. And she's like, this is more cocaine than I'd ever seen. And they were going through it every night, like so much more than I had ever seen. And that's saying something, considering we know about Carrie Fisher's past. And that is what I have come to recognize as, why would they do this? Why at the time did they think this was a good idea? And the answer is cocaine. Pretty much everything in the 70s and 80s, when you're like, why though? Why would they do this? And it doesn't, not even just movies, anywhere. Just say, could it be cocaine? Because the answer is probably yes. Probably it'll be cocaine. Cocaine was so prevalent, even I knew about cocaine as a child. And I mean, Mississippi ain't got hardly anything, but there was definitely a lot of smuggling going on because the El Camino corridor comes through Mississippi. So a lot of cocaine travels. It just doesn't really stop here. And so even I knew about cocaine because so many family members of friends were like known to occasionally, for Christmas money, run cocaine. Like it was the 80s, y'all. It was the 80s. So I just want to say, that is my theory of the Disney Dark Ages. And why are so many obviously terrible ideas? Why are they there? Why did they go through with all of these and then keep doing it, even though it definitely didn't work the first time, and then kept doing it? Cocaine. That's my theory. Cocaine.
Let's talk about The Fox and the Hound and probably why the Disney Dark Ages ended. Which was fascinating. I didn't know any of this till Glory looked it up. I love
Wikipedia.
Yeah. We grew up in Mississippi. The Fox and the Hound was a very, what's the word for it?
Controversial?
Yes, very controversial story.
Every time I thought about Fox and the Hound, all I can hear in my head was a man yelling, miscegenation! Because anytime in the 80s in Mississippi, somebody mentioned watching the movie The Fox and the Hound, someone else would go, that movie is about miscegenation. Like they'd whisper it, they'd yell it. It was like a weird trope kind of in my childhood, was like, hey, you want to watch somebody so-and-so's daddy yell about miscegenation? Let's go mention that we just saw The Fox and the Hound, or like that we were like reenacting a scene from The Fox and the Hound, and then like hear this person's daddy just go off about miscegenation. Obviously, it's about white people going off about miscegenation. Fun fact, when I was a child, I misunderstood what miscegenation was because I thought it was a Southern mispronunciation of misogyny. So I thought they were talking about that. No. But anyway, so in Disney Studios, if you think about the animation side, there's Walt Disney at the top, and then there was the senior animators, also called the 9 Old Men. And I believe they were called that by the junior animators. And the junior animators, I believe, if I remember correctly, included like Ken Anderson, who was like the one who thought up or who was really pushing through Robin Hood, who wanted it set in the South.
Which is why the rooster sounds Southern.
Who wanted it set in the South to cash in on the success of Song of the South. Yeah. And so there's the junior, and then also along with Ken Anderson included John Lasseter.
And Don Bluth.
And Don Bluth, if I remember correctly. And then, so what happened was, apparently, about, I don't know, a quarter to a third through production for Fox and the Hound, Don Bluth had enough. And he and two of his buddies turned in their resignation one day. Like, I assume in the morning, because then immediately after, 13 more animators, junior animators, turned in their resignation. So such and such over at Disney Studios said you have till noon to get off the lot. So that didn't go well. There are better ways to do it. So they lost Don Bluth and his buddy crowd. Then, apparently after that, in the middle of production, the 9 old men all retired together. Like, if one goes out, all of them go. They all left. So suddenly, they're missing a whole bunch of junior animators, and they're missing all the senior animators. So they're having to bring up the entry-level new animators and what's left of the junior animators, and all the
including John Lasseter,
and the assistant animators are the ones having to do quality control, which is why there's not as much quality control as one might hope for in The Fox and the Hound. But we theorize that that's actually what laid the groundwork for the Disney Renaissance, starting with The Little Mermaid and going on to Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and The Lion King, is that all the old guard were gone, and a bunch of the disgruntled younger guard also left to go form Don Bluth's little team, to go make such exciting movies as Thumbelina and I don't remember, maybe Fievel? I don't remember.
Rockadoodle.
Oh, Rockadoodle.
Yeah, I'm not sure which other ones. It's like, no, that's Spielberg.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Well, Spielberg and Bluth, I thought, worked together at some point.
Yeah,
I haven't done that research because I was trying to do research about Disney Dark Age films.
Because Bluth and Spielberg did Land Before Time and An American Tale together.
So we theorize that is actually what led to the Disney Renaissance, was there was such a huge influx of fresh blood and fresh ideas, and like so many people who were stodgy and conservative and were afraid of a continuation. They didn't want to like try new things and innovate. They all were gone all at once. It was amazing. However, still a lot of cocaine energy, because, like, for instance, Tron was supposed to be released Christmas, I believe, of, I don't remember, 81, 82. And they moved it up to July in order to compete with Don Bluth's Secret of NIMH.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real petty move. There's enough room for all the cartoons.
And they really shot themselves in the foot with that move, because then it immediately went up against so many big movies in 82.
And Poltergeist and a bunch of other films, and it really could not hold a candle to these other films in a summer blockbuster. And it wasn't a summer blockbuster type movie. I mean, summer blockbusters in the late 70s and early 80s were huge. And Tron, they knew Tron was never going to be. Tron was a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Let's see. In the chat. Yes. Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel like it should have been a sign when, he was the one who funded all the money for
Sweet
movie.
Badass Adventure.
Badass Song.
Badass Song, excuse me.
With so many S's.
Yeah, it's a lot of S's. Yeah. Tom did put the link up if anybody is curious about Ruby the Head of Prince Charming.
It is a really cute series.
Yeah. What's there to like about Tron? It's very confusing. There's not a proper story. There's nothing coherent. I thought it was just me until I literally looked at Wikipedia, was reading reviews of the film at the time when it came out, and they're literally using the word incoherent. I'm like, oh, thank God it's not just me. Because I was really wondering.
Yeah, it was nice to read that part.
Pro 2 is. How dare you know about my digital past? No, really though. There was like there's some weird feedback. I can hear myself in it. So that's the second time. Yes. I mean, like, I enjoy a lot of Blues Brothers, but then what is this incredibly long car chase? I swear to you, I think it's longer than the fight scene at the end of Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, and that fight scene goes on for like a year. Yes, we do actually watch the Blues Brothers at least yearly. It's true. Haven't watched it in a year. Love the movie. Yes, dig it out. Yes, I had the Fox and the Hound, like one of those little golden book types, for years as a kid. Oh, yes, All Dogs Go to Heaven was one of the Don Bluth ones, which, again, I just want to point out, definitely has, like...
All five.
All five. I mean, like, I can sing you some songs. Yeah. I remember going to see An American Tail in the theater, and Dad took both of us, Tom and me, to it in the theater, and Dad fell asleep before the snowflakes finished falling. I was so disappointed in my father. Yes. Yes. Oh, do you know how hard it is not to just break out in the song? Oh, honey, you have missed out if you haven't seen the original. The sequels is but the original one with Burt Reynolds as the voice of Charlie and Dom DeLuise as the voice of Itchy. Oh gosh, yes. Yes.
Yes, that is good.
Yeah. Yeah, CB, you and Tom are the exact same age. Well, I mean, like, by year, anyway. Yeah, everything involving Bluth and Katzenberg is petty and obnoxious. For real, though. I mean, get over it, fellas. Life is too short to be, like, petty where it affects your money.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of screwing up the algorithm, the other part I came across watching, like, just, binging all of these movies from the very aptly named Dark Age.
Oh, they're so dark.
Is two things. One,
physically dark.
So much small member energy from the executives in charge of these stories.
Yes.
And truly, like, small energy.
We literally workshopped how are we going to say this without, because, like, we were concerned about, like, since we do seem to draw sometimes a younger audience, and we didn't, trying to keep it.
And the other part was...
So we were like, we'll call it a small member.
Yeah. And the other part was the amount of sheer misogyny in all of these stories. Really seemed like it was hard to notice the racism in there because the misogyny was just so strong. It really took up a lot of space that you can't, it's hard for me to not believe that Weinstein learned everything about how to be an executive from these people.
I said to Tom many times this past week I was honestly expecting a little bit of misogyny with all these films just because of the time period and because women were, this was during Women's Lib and they were burning bras and they were having, what was it in the Stepford Wives? Consciousness raising meetings of like, did you know you're being oppressed? Which is wild to me now, but I understand the time period and first wave feminism versus second wave feminism. But nevertheless, I was not prepared for the level of misogyny that I have been slapped in the face with all week. It has actually made it very difficult to watch a bunch of these films.
It's, what was it you said? It's an MRA activist?
It's like watching incel or men's right activist movies. Like, these are so misogynistic. Like, it's so undeniable. It just slaps me in the face constantly, like the Apple Dumpling Gang. And also, like, okay, there just seem to be also, I mean, like, of this, is this lesbian erasure? I mean, or bisexual erasure? There's a lot of, like, the Apple Dumpling Gang, this woman, one of the main female characters, Dusty, she supposedly she works for her father running the stagecoach business, but she's really the one running it, like, entirely. Her father is apparently not actually that useful, other than to be the white male front of this company. So anyway, she wears pants. She doesn't take guff from anyone. She gets the job done, but, she can cook and stuff, and she actually cares about people, right? everything is fine until the last scene of the movie, where suddenly she changes everything, puts on a dress with ruffles, and gets herself an umbrella. And now everything is fine and they can go homestead on a ranch. And I'm just like, what the F is this? And like in The Devil and Max Devlin, they're the only person on Earth, and the only human on Earth that has a clue about that Max maybe shouldn't be trusted is like the kid, the 10-year-old's mom, who is a widow, and she runs a daycare. But she is won over when Max buys a new playground set for her daycare. So, like, but also like, okay, so going back to the Apple Dumpling Gang. So there's 3 children, and they find this big old gold nugget in their mine, right? And before they found that, the guy who was their guardian, who had been tricked into being their guardian, he went to every single family in Quake City, in this town, trying to get anybody to take any of these kids, and everyone refused. But then once the kids had found this big gold nugget, suddenly are these men and women fighting for the children? No, it is just the women fighting for the children, literally fighting each other, clawing at each other, tearing each other's hair and hats in order to win supremacy to be the guardian for these children. Again, not their husbands. Their husbands are nowhere to be found. We have no idea. The Ugly Dachshund, the amount of misogynist BS that comes out of the husband's mouth is palpable. I mean, I could not make it beyond 23 minutes. And let me tell you, I will go to great lengths to watch anything with a dachshund in it. I love dachshunds. I had one. She was the light of my life. And I miss her very much. She's passed away. So I will watch anything with dachshund. Tom gets me every time with dachshund videos when he sends them on my phone. Anytime I'm sad, anytime I'm happy, he sends me dachshund photos. And I love it. But I could not make it past 23 minutes of The Ugly Dachshund because of the misogyny. Was so just in the face, like all the time. And it's not even deserved. Suzanne Plachette is actually doing her best. And while she, of course, prefers dachshunds to Great Danes, she's not trying to be a total jerk. But he says all these ugly things to her all the time. Does she stay in this marriage? Why, yes, she does. It goes on. The list goes on. It was exhausting. I just could not bear it. Ugh. Anyway, Phoebe loves this.
Yeah, versus what was it, Fox and the Hound, where we're watching this and like this is the bad kind of fairy tale for oppressed people, because if you follow the fairy tale Fox and the Hound, good people will get killed, because it's if you put yourself out far enough, if you save the life of the raging racist phobic hunter, and then someone will protect you, and the hunter will have to accept you.
He's called Master.
Yeah.
Amos is called Master by Copper.
Like
and Copper refers to Amos as Master when talking to Todd the fox.
So I mean, there is so much this is a bad story to follow. Do not do any of this. This is how people die.
The thing about children's stories, and like, yes, fairy tales, Grimm's fairy tale, whatever you want to call it, some of them are quite violent, and there's still a child story or children's story. That still works because it's trying to warn children how to behave to be most likely to survive to and through adulthood. So, hey, do not harass little ladies in the woods. Bad things could happen to you. It's a good piece of advice, Hansel and Gretel. Don't freaking harass old ladies. Don't tear down their house, for instance. They'll enslave you and eat you. Like you have to do what you have to do to scare children to behave well, sure. But nevertheless, it's like, don't mess with this. And so those fairy tales work versus the advice that they are giving children on how to behave in The Fox and the Hound is erroneous and dangerous, particularly for children of color. They are like, it is very dangerous. And also this whole white savior thing. Oh, God, save me from the white savior trope. Charlie says, it's the 70s. They didn't differentiate between lesbians and liberation, which says something about their fragile male egos. Yes, amen, sister. You get it. Charlie says, what do you mean, Tom? The white savior won't save us all, but Master knows best. Oh, my God. This is so terrible. This is the Disney ethos as it's most blatant. I mean, seriously, there's no subterfuge here. Yes, don't sell cows for magic beans. Only sell cows for cash.
I mean, also don't forget the part of The Fox and the Hound where the white woman who took in the fox is like, the white man's going to come and kill you. I can't protect you. I can't be part of this. Here, I'm going to abandon you in the woods without anything.
No resources, no connections. I'm not going to keep taking you there till you make friends and then leave you there. No. You're on your own with literally nowhere to sleep. That is what white women will do to you. I mean, technically, that's not wrong, though.
Oh, that's true. It is accurate.
I mean, it's honest.
Like, everything actually in Fox and the Hound works up until the point where Todd comes back.
Todd goes back and attacks the bear.
From the bear, yeah.
That is at the point where everything falls apart, and it's like, this is toxic to children of color, or really to anybody who's dealing with oppression, of how to handle the oppressing party. I'm so glad that we could have this lovely conversation.
Yeah.
I just want people to know that I hope you don't feel like I'm tearing apart, even if you love Fox and the Hound. I'm totally fine with that. I don't. But like, what I really wanted to do was talk about where storytelling works. And this is essentially a whole period of time where pretty much all the storytelling that Disney was putting out for like 20 years did not work. Again, cocaine. As well as MRA, men's rights. And that, so I wanted to talk about how we can identify when it doesn't work, because I think that's important. So for instance, just to because I can talk about myself, because I am familiar with what I'm doing. So with my Nano project, it's a rom-com. There are parts that I realized when I had originally outlined it, soon after I had outlined it, and this is, by the way, just like it's at the wire, like it's like Halloween. And I realized this outline's not working. I don't want to write it. And so I really had to do some heavy thinking for the next 2 days into Nano. How am I going to rewrite this thing so that I want to write it? Because if I want to write it, it means I want to read it. But it's like you need to know how to diagnose on your tippy toes while you're out there in the field, while you are writing the story or before you even begin the story, that something's not working and you need to quickly do a rewrite of your outline, of your premise, of whatever, so that you're not doing a sunk cost problem, a sunk cost fallacy, where you're throwing good energy after a bad premise. And that's why we really wanted to talk about this, even though we knew this storytelling doesn't work. But we're not trying to just dwell on negative things, but really more of, you need to know how to diagnose when it doesn't work. Like, first, you need to know this doesn't work. And you don't even have to know why it doesn't work. You need to at least listen to that little voice in your gut or whatever, or somebody else, maybe your trusted critique partner, saying, this is good, but it's not quite good enough. Something's off. And then go, okay, let me re-examine it and figure out what's wrong and how I can adjust it. And what happened was, excuse me, in my Nano project, I realized I didn't like having a good love interest and a bad love interest. And that was what was making me not want to write it, let alone read it. So I had to go, what would it take? What if we had two good love interests? What would that mean? It would be there's more love. Problem was, the bad love interest was like really a bad love interest. This is not a good person. And again, I didn't really want to write that character because I was kind of married to them at one point. And so I was like, okay, instead of this person, let me figure out a totally different character that I actually want to read about, that my protagonist would fall for, would deserve, it would work out. And now I've got 2 good love interests. And they've got to work things out because what do? Jealousy is real. Not everybody shares well with others.
I'm just wondering, is that pronounced Saltiest Titan?
Salty-inton?
Salty Titan?
We have options. Yeah, it would mean you're defying the chicklet formula. Girl has 2 options, one good, one bad. In the end, she picks the bad. Nope. She picks them both. It's great. Okay, I'm ruining the ending for everybody. It's based on true lives. Salty Titan for the win.
All right. Shall we do a quick rundown of what the movies have and what they don't for each of them?
Stevie talking about their nano realized early in my story that Tony gets jealous very easily.
Yes.
And then it's something to take advantage of story-wise. Okay, so what do you want to be talking about? What are you saying? Like you want to go over?
So we have these 5 elements that we're now, judging everything by.
Right, for a top-tier adventure story.
These are what all of the Disney movies people remember truly fondly, and like they have made their bank on, have to have all 5. So what is it that's missing in each one? So like Robin Hood, it doesn't actually have a real villain. They're all sort of villains, but none of them are actually dangerous.
They're all secondary villains. There's no primary villain.
Yeah. There is no main character that you root for no matter what.
Well, I mean, you root for Robin.
You root more for the rabbits, let's be honest. And Friar Tuck.
And Maid Marian.
Yeah.
What for me is that I'm never truly afraid for Robin.
No, because we see early on the same falling into the river trick. So we know when it happens at the end of the movie, he's fine. There's no even worry for a moment he might be dead this time.
Right.
We know he never gets hit by arrows because he is the best shot. And we never see the sheriff shoot at him, who's the only one who's actually competition for his shooting prowess.
Yeah, the sheriff does not walk around with his bow and arrow, even though he's the second best shot in Nottingham.
Yeah.
Which is odd. You think he would walk around with it.
And what's the next one? The Rescuers.
Okay. No, it's not singable music.
Yeah, nothing. But it does have characters you do want to root for, but they never get together till the last 15 minutes. Like, they're all separate.
The whole thing is the journey to there, and the journey is frankly rather boring, other than watching Albatross land and take off. That is hilarious, and I loved it. Which is, I guess, sort of a funny moment, but you can't really... Okay, so a truly funny moment, a genuinely funny moment, is one that you can tell... You go on Monday to school, to work, and you tell this joke again, and it works. It's tellable.
Yeah.
Like, it works in retelling. You don't have to have the visual for the joke to work.
Mm-hmm.
That is a genuinely funny moment. And there are none in The Rescuers that, like, you can retell and, like, the person listening, as you retell it, thinks it's funny as well.
But The Rescuers does prove a point about how people remember the beginning and the end, and they only vaguely remember what happens in the middle. Because there's not that much story in the middle of The Rescuers, but the last 10, 12 minutes, there's so much stuff going on that you remember, oh, I really enjoyed this. And so you want to go back. And you have what I now call Suicide Squad syndrome, where you think you like the movie till someone asks you to explain it to them. And when you explain it, you're like, wait, no, I didn't actually like most of it. It's just this one little part I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's The Rescuers of, the last 10 minutes is great, even if there are a few questions.
You could make an argument that The Rescuers and Suicide Squad have a lot in common.
Yes. What's the next?
Are we just doing cartoons, or are we doing like Apple Dumpling Gang, for instance?
Let's do the cartoons because that's what everyone's going to know mostly.
Okay. The Fox and the Hound.
Which does have a character you can't help but root for. I mean, Todd is adorable.
He's so sweet.
Yes. Todd is versus Copper has progeria or something. Like, that is not a cute
puppy. With that puppy.
Yeah. And I like the other birds. Like, they're nice secondary characters. As well as the oldest caterpillar I've ever heard of. I didn't know a caterpillar could go 6-8 months without, spinning a cocoon.
Just living life as a caterpillar, just having a great life.
And it doesn't have any real singable songs. Like, she's a good singer. Who is it that plays
Bailey?
Yeah. But it's not stuff we can sing, and hum. And also, it's passive in that it's the narrator singing this, not any of the characters participating. Because that owl is not... Yes, she exists in the world, but she is not really participating much in this story.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know that I consider Amos a villain who, like, number one, Amos isn't scary at the beginning. Amos only becomes scary, like, the last quarter of the movie.
When he just turns full psycho?
Yeah, which, like, it almost seems forced or, like, convoluted a little. It's not a good villain. Let alone, like, I have no issues when he's kind as dogs. I expect that. So there's the Great Mouse Detective.
Which does have really good characters to root for. Has a very scary villain. Again, misses on the songs. You can't hum or anything.
I don't think Ratigan is a very good villain. No. Ratigan is no Moriarty, like it is not. Ratigan is not
brutish.
What?
He's too brutish. He's not anything you're worried that much when you're not around him.
Well, I mean, like the scary part of Ratigan is Fluffy.
Yeah.
And Fluffy's just a cat doing her cat thing.
Yeah. And there's also
I don't think there's really that many funny moments in Great Mouse.
There's a few actual funny moments, but they're all visual. Like there's not actual good joke lines in there. There's
right.
Not stuff to talk about later.
You need to be able to tell the joke on Monday morning.
Yeah. And the other one is also, we forgot the Aristocats, the beginning, which, yes, has great protagonists, adorable cats. But the villain is this is the most convoluted. I don't understand the thinking of the butler. He hears he might inherit if the cats are gone, but she's just by the doctor claimed in excellent health, so this could be a decade or two away. And he's not going to do anything about her. He's not trying to poison her. He's just trying to get rid of the cats. I don't...
why would you get rid of cats now? Why wouldn't you wait till the little old lady dies? Then kill the cats so that the line very obviously goes to you rather than, oh, she's going to have to get more cats and then you're going to have to kill more cats and just be a cat serial killer.
I like Charlie's latest.
That's fair.
Yes.
That's fair.
Yes, that is fair. And Oliver and Company.
He says Fluffy reminds me of Dr. Claw's cat.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally see being in that same universe. But
yeah,
I mean,
Ratigan's villain because he broke Sherlock's heart. Oh, the subtext.
Yes. And then there's Oliver and Company, where I don't actually like any of the main characters. The villain is actually reasonably scary.
Yes, Sykes.
Yeah, that's actually the villain's scary, but I don't care about Billy Joel's character. I don't actually like Oliver that much. Oliver's also kind of ugly.
You used to love Oliver when you were a kid, though.
Yes, I know, but
you were very annoying.
the cuteness just isn't as much there as I thought.
Is it just because the cat's ginger?
I love how the world has changed, because remember that the rescuers of Penny was looked over because they adopted the ginger child.
Like, yeah, she wasn't red-haired enough to be pretty. Like, and I mean, like, I remember Tom was like, well, this is a lie. And I'm like, no, Lucille Ball really set the tone for, like, redheads were the most desirable for a long time.
And also, what's her name with the comedy show?
Carol Burnett.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you have a point there.
So, yeah, Penny wasn't red-haired enough. And now it's like, oh, redheads. Nobody likes them.
But yeah, like, it's just, you really have to get all those elements together. And I feel like the only variance and change for the written form versus the visual for the storytelling is, I think we can also change, though, the musical numbers to just world building. In the written medium, it's, do you want to live here in these books? Like, do you want to come back just to visit the world? Which is, we know how the story ends after we read it once. We read it again because we want to live here again. And that's why we reread these books. And so is there that world building that brings you in, just like these stories bring you into the characters and bring you into the movie. You want to sing with them.
Mm-hmm. You are correct, sir. So, here we are. Before I forget, next week's episode is going to be our tribute to Barry Sonnenfeld. I want to make this clear, though. We're just going to be going over Addams Family Values, and Men in Black 1, 2, and 3. So it's just 5 movies. Everybody can, do that if you want to watch it, but that's what we're going to do. We thought it would be, because, Sonnenfeld's movies are really great to play over Thanksgiving. And they're kind of family pleasers. At least
everyone can find something to enjoy.
Yeah, these 2 franchises, anyway, are family pleasers. I mean, how many times do we quote Addams Family Values back to each other? All the time.
But what about Debbie?
Nothing for Debbie. Where's there? Also, how many times in my life have I sent somebody on Wednesday the gif of Happy Wednesday with Wednesday in her outfit at summer camp, lighting the match before she lights the whole set to the Thanksgiving play on fire?
The year after Men in Black 2 came out, I worked for 4 months at the local post office sorting facility. And out of curiosity, I just started asking everyone on my breaks and when I was working with them, all right, so you saw Men in Black 2, right? And they're like, yeah. So are you an alien? And the response was always the same. No, I'm not an alien. Well, I'm pretty sure that guy is. And there's always someone else. They're like, no, but I'm pretty sure he is. I don't think he's human.
Yep.
Barry Sonnenfeld really got at, these are the background thoughts we all have. This is kind of the semi-world perception we have.
Yes, there's much good times.
So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about.
So, we hope you all will join us next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. If you've made it this far and you enjoyed it, we hope you will please click a like. And if you enjoy what we do, if you're not already, please subscribe. If you are already subscribed, maybe it's time to check and make sure that you've rung that bell so you'll get notifications every time we post.
Because YouTube keeps unringing that bell.
Yeah, okay, so I have a personal account, and that's what I tend to actually use my personal account on my phone to put our show up on the TV so I can monitor it to make sure. And today, it was important that I did that because I thought we were broadcasting and it never went up on the TV. It never started showing. That's how I realized, wait, we're not broadcasting. We have to do this again. That's why we were late opening the show because me. And I noticed today when I went to load it up onto the TV that on my personal account, the bell had been unrung. I mean, this was not an accident. I know I had rung the bell. In part so that way I get the notification on my phone, so I know that everybody else is more than likely getting the notification too. So anyway, we hope we'll see you again. We hope you had a wonderful time. If you do have questions or comments later, please be sure to let us know in the comments, and we will respond as soon as possible. And we look forward to seeing you next week, and we hope everybody feels better. And we hope everyone will have a Nano update if you're doing Nano. And if you're not, maybe like what projects you are working on. Am I forgetting? Oh, and Stephanie's contact info. Her subscription, her channel is in the description below. Tom's is as well. I think he will soon be posting videos about like his editing, his process. I think we've been talking about that. So at some point,
Maybe.
when his hopefully there is some laptop updates coming, like new hardware coming in that we've ordered, and hopefully that will help with it, and so he will be able to post those soon. But we hope we will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.